Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. All right. What's up, viewers? How you guys doing on this good Saturday? Where I am, it's very rainy and gloomy, but I hope it's sunny and good weather where you guys are at, whoever's listening around the world. So, today we're going to have a great discussion. Now, on my channel, I have a video series called The Psychology of Chris Watts. There's a part 1 and a part 2. I decided to do part 3 today, which I was going to upload Monday in a video format, but I decided to do it today as a live show, a live recording per se. That way we can also have a live discussion, and I can get the point out that I was going to get out on the video, but it wouldn't hurt to have the discussion of, viewers included into this video as well. So it's kind of like a best of both worlds type of thing. So I know people are going to play this back, so I'm going to move along. First things first. Come on, YouTube. I'm sorry. If you guys can hear me, I am so sorry for this. YouTube in their live show process sucks now. So I have to go live through a third party app. And right now it's giving me a bit of trouble. But I don't know if you guys can hear me. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. If you're in the live chat and you're able to type right now, if you can hear me, let me know. I'm trying to do a playback on my laptop to see if you guys can hear me. Okay, so I'm sure you can hear me. All right. So on the screen, I have pulled up you guys' comments. So I'd like to say thank you first, because most of the time on every YouTuber's video, we're going to always ask you guys to leave your thoughts in the comment section. So I know there's a lot of people on YouTube who ignores that and just simply just keeps going on about what they're doing. So for the fact that you guys actually took the time to leave a comment, I appreciate it. So the least that I can do is read them. And I read them, but this is just to make sure, or to let you know, if you catch the live show, that your comment is being read and it's appreciated. So we're going to start at the top. Sorry if y'all heard that echo. At the top, we have Kelly Brown. Kelly Brown says, great analysis and presentation. I agree with the other gentleman. You're like JCS, but a little warmer in nature. Can't wait for more presentations. So, Kelly Brown, I don't know if you're going to ever hear this live show. Hopefully you do. But I appreciate that comment so much. Let me tell you why. You see, JCS is a inspirational channel to me. Not only does I like the way he puts together his videos, but it's so different than the average true crime channel when it comes to YouTube. So I really appreciate his channel, and I look forward to all his uploads. So he did it inspire me. That channel did inspire me. So to me, the fact that, you know, when you're watching my videos, you may think about his, that's a honor to me. So I appreciate that comment. Next comment is from Tracy Whittington. You say, love it. Well, thank you, Miss Tracy. Your comment is very appreciated. The next two comments is from Angel Maradola. You say, they never once called out their names when they entered the house. Why? And you also said, I don't like Nicole. She was a nosy person. So, my assumption, because of the video you commented on, I'm going to assume the Nicole that you're speaking about is Shanann's friend, Nicole. And as far as you saying they never once called out their names when they entered the house, why? That is a good question, all right? And that is a question that flew under the radar, okay? I haven't seen too many people pose the question on when they walked in, why no one said nothing. Well, I got an answer for you, nevertheless, Miss Angel. More than likely, the reason why you didn't hear them calling any names is because Chris went in the house first for about almost 2 minutes. So when they walked in the house, they're automatically under the assumption that Chris called out their names. He went and checked, you know. So when they walked in at that point, that's something that's scratched off the list. You know, there's no point of them calling a name in their mind. Right now, we got to visually see them. So that's what they did. They walked in and instantly went to spots where they think Shanann and the kids will be so they could try to get a visual of them. So that'll be the best way I can answer that question. Next comments, well, it's about 5 of them. I'm going to sit them on the screen. I'm going to read your last one, Amy Paul. Thank you for your other ones, too. While I read your last 3, you say, he is a boy, not a real man. You also say, NK was trashy, slutty, and scummy, so he was an idiot. And you also say, at least his wife was not loosey-goosey. She pressured him to get rid of them all. She motivated him to kill. Well, it is called divorce and child support. It's how it's supposed to turn out if you want a whore, okay? Yeah. You can't say it better than that. You also say, so Nicole did have a hand in the addiction wise. Figures he is stupid. Nicole is no good and a manipulating slut. Okay. I'm sure a lot of people agree with that comment as well. Next comment is from Trey N. You say, she really was Shanann's best friend. Chris would have had time to dispose of the incriminating evidence if she hadn't got worried so soon and screwed up his plan. Hey, Tracy Tracy McLennan. I don't know if I said that right, but I tried. And hello, Tina Hansen from Maine. What's up, Tina? I totally agree with this, Trey in that, you know, luckily Nicole was a good friend because, yeah, Chris probably would have had time to cover this up better if she didn't foil his plans so early in the morning. So you're kind of right. You're very right on that. Now what I can say is him getting rid of 3 human beings, one of them being pregnant, in a matter of hours, was not going to pan out right for him anyway. There was no way he could have possibly got around that. No way, form, or fashion. But he did get caught up so quickly because Nicole persistence and her being her being, curious and worried about what's going on. So, great comment. Next comment is from Joyce Cherry. You say, yep, you told it like it is. High pitched background noises. I think you're talking about one of them live shows. It shouldn't have lasted through the whole thing, though. You also say good testimony. Next comment is from Trey N. It's another good question. You say, how did they know her car was in the garage? I mean, I'm glad that he got caught and it worked out the way it did, because he might have got away with it if it hadn't been, I'm sorry, but if it hadn't, but those are high windows on the garage door, and neither her or her son were tall enough to see through the windows. So that's a very good question and observation, Trey in. But this is where you have to just simply, assume the obvious, right? When Nicole is blowing the horn or calling Shanann's phone and not getting the answer, more than likely she pulled her car up, because the car was pulled up in front of the garage door, I'm sure. And her son probably jumped or stood on top of the hood of the car and was able to see through the window. It doesn't take, the windows is not that high. It's just like you said, it's taller than him. So all he needed was a boost. More than likely he jumped and caught a glimpse of the car still there, which was obvious to do, or he stood on the hood of the car. Those two things is what more than likely happened, to answer your question. And yeah, I actually commented that to you and you commented back, so thank you. The next comment is from Ramona Carroll. You say, he wasn't gonna get away with it. She has too many people that love her and would be looking for them. Not just that, right? The key fact to all of that is his daughters. Like, you can't get rid of a woman and 2 kids and no one realizes anything. Like, nah. That wasn't gonna work anyway. Lots of comments, y'all. It's a lot of comments, and I want to thank all of y'all for doing so. I try my best to respond to most of them, and if I can't respond to them, I definitely will go and like and heart them to let you know I am watching. I am right, Tina. Thank you. Thank you. So, all right. Without further ado, let's get into what we need to get into. All right? No problem. Now, this part of, okay, let me see if I'm still live. Gotta do checks when it comes to YouTube. Sometimes you think you're live and you're not. Okay. I can hear me on the playback, so I assume everything good. Thank you for listening so far. Let's get into this, all right? Let's really get into this. Now, this particular part, as I was saying, is a part that a lot of people are not going to agree with. And you don't supposed to agree with it. You're not. We're not. But for the sake of dialogue, for the sake of trying to understand this crime on all facets, right? We have to be very optimistic when looking into this case. Now, for the record, we all know who did this. We all know where he's going to rot for the rest of his life. We know it. Now, it can be debated if he had an accomplice or something like that. But me personally, I think it was all solo dolo Chris. All right. But most viewers, both watching and listening, opinions vary and waver when it comes to the Watts family murders. However, if it was only one way to pull several people to one solid opinion, this video and this live show definitely will be it. Most of you are interested in this case for very uncommon reasons. But no matter what the reason, it is almost certain the two main focal points are justice for Shanann, which is A, or B, praises to Chris Watts. Let me say that again. Justice for Shanann, which is point A, or focal point B, praises for Chris Watts. Now, when you hear point B, most people are wondering, like, what in the world are you talking about? Well, there is a subculture on YouTube of people who actually praise Chris Watts for what he did, and people who actually believe the original lie that he told at first. Yes, there are people who actually believe that, and they have a community, much like people have communities when they pay tributes to Shanann or discuss the case in general. So, the term devil's advocate is defined as a person who expresses a continuous opinion in order to provoke debate or test the strength of the opposing argument. Now, with that meaning in mind, I would like you to follow these simple instructions as a listener. Step 1. Focus your mind on the keyword of use, devil's advocate. Step 2. Remove your own personal moral code and past judgment pertaining to this case. Let's repeat step 1 and 2 before we hit step 3. Step 1. Focus your mind on the keyword of use, devil's advocate. Step 2. Remove your own personal moral code and past judgment. Step 3, which may be the most difficult of the steps. Imagine if you were Chris Watts. Step 3, the most difficult. Imagine if you were Chris Watts. So, keeping that in mind, the thought is more than likely unbearable. And if you are a woman, your stomach probably turned. You will most likely experience similar feelings reading into the details of the crime. Imagine if you were Chris Watts. Your whole life, you strive to be somebody, but ultimately became no one. You thought marrying a hot girl will make you feel better, but it didn't. You thought having 2 beautiful daughters will fill the void, but it didn't. Working out, relocating, and living upgrades, none of those things were able to fill the void. In fact, it became more vast rather than closed. So, Chris is near his wit's end but doesn't quite know it. What he knows is feelings in every sense of the word only brings for internal destruction. So, the one change he has to commit that can not only fill the void, but get rid of it, meaning Chris feels extreme feelings. Simple as that. A simple word and a common thing that all human beings have. Feelings, right? And he has a void in the inside of his heart that has never been filled. And he's trying to do all the American things to fill the void. This is how you get the image of an American father who just went evil like this. Because when you have a void on the inside, that emptiness is absent of love, family, God, religion, spirituality, however you want to say it. It's absent of all of that. That's what a void is. A void is an absence of anything. It's just nothing. So, evil, demonic thoughts and spirits began to fill them voids without Chris knowing this. But what he does know is that he's simply having feelings. Now, Chris now feels like not having a family can be a lot less stressful than having one. Basically meaning he doesn't have to worry about the feeling of disappointment, the feeling of pain, the feeling of hurt, the feeling of him being shunned away, or feeling less than, or feeling like he's not a man. Notice in every phrase I use the word feeling, right? So he figures getting rid of them, taking them out the picture. It's not the fact that I want them to be dead, literally dead, but I don't want to feel nothing for them anymore. I don't want to feel nothing, because me feeling is what has me feeling depressed right now. And the one thing he knows is that when it comes to Shanann and them girls, when he looks at them, the feeling of love comes, the feeling of caring. A lot of people think Chris didn't have any feelings towards his family in the first place. A lot of people think he didn't love them. He didn't feel nothing. He was just an empty robot all of this time up until he committed this crime. But no, he very well felt something for him. He was just fed up with feeling it. It's not good enough. It wasn't good enough. He still had a void. And he did everything that an American man's supposed to do. It wasn't enough for him, right? So, as he questions himself, he is quickly met with the internal answer. The thought is more than before. It is equivalent to an item on the to-do list. The children represented his past life, the one filled with pain. Think about that for a second. The children, because a lot of people wonder how can you pull yourself to killing your own children, Chris? His children represented the past life filled of pain. Remember, like I just told you, he tried to have those daughters. He tried to have kids because he was following the American man rule book. He thought by doing these things, he would feel better as a person. Okay? So they were a prime representation of that lifestyle and that internal pain that he feel all the time. Hello from Scotland. So, guess who represents his future life? The evil and vile relationship with his mistress, Nicole Kessinger, that was all disguised as love. So we got a guy who has an empty void in his heart that cannot be filled by none of the things that an American man has to fill a void in his life. None of that stuff was good enough. Right? But Nicole comes along, and Nicole falsely represents the one thing that Chris is trying to get in fill the void. So he gravitates towards that, which was fairly easy for him to do because the life that he's living is not doing much for him at all. It seems to Chris that his lifestyle that he lives benefits everyone else except himself. What's up, Connie? Thank you for being here. Moonchild, what's up? How you doing? Thank you for being here. So, Nicole then, she starts to wean Chris away from his family. Now, this is one knock I'm going to give against Nicole no matter what. Nicole purposely found out Chris's insecurities and his things that he play on as a man, and she fed on that. She purposely fed on that. She never had intentions on being 100% serious with Chris. She never did. But this was all a game to her. Now, I use the word game very loosely. All right? I don't necessarily mean a game like playing a fun game. But I mean a game as far as the lack of seriousness of a future with this person. She was well and dandy having fun with just sleeping around, having sex like some teenage kids. She was fine with that. Actually marrying Chris, walking down the aisle with him going bald, on top of being gray-haired, that kind of stuff, she wasn't with that. She wasn't really with that. But it was fun. It was exciting. He was like the hot older guy to her. I'm sure she probably had a few daddy issues. Just because the father is in the home doesn't mean daddy issues can't occur. Chris will represent a lot of things for Nicole that'll drive her towards him. But once again, at the end of the day, she knew this wasn't going to be the rest of my life. But not Chris, because Chris had spent half of his expected life trying to fulfill the one thing that Nicole wants ever so simply. So when Nicole starts saying things like, you have such a beautiful house, how you and your wife are going to be able to separate. She's going to take half of all your money. You're going to owe her the house. She's going to have your children. She's going to take the car. All of those things that she's saying to him, which her intentions is simply to put a negative light so bad on Shanann that any little thing she does, whether that's have the best sex with him or go and buy him a Snicker bar from the local convenience store, whatever she did for him was going to seem so extravagant, so love fulfilled, So she painted Shanann in a negative light, right? Chris already is struggling in his mind on, why can't I feel good? Why does Shanann get to be all happy on social media? Why does Shanann gets to have all the friends who care about her, who call her, who plan baby showers and birthday parties? Why does everyone like her? On top of that, why does Shanann have all of these things and she has me? Some people probably wondering, what do you mean by that? She has all the friends, all the good things, and she has a Chris Watts. Let's look at what I mean by that. Chris is what I told you guys earlier. A man who is trying his best to live the American man's life. Now, if you're not from America, that's going to probably sound kind of strange to you. So I apologize for that. But so what I basically mean is, in America, you guys even know this if you're from another country. America has a slogan called the American Dream. Now, in that American Dream, there's a vivid portrait of what that is. Big house, white picket fence, a dog, a wife, 2 or 3 kids, 2 cars in the garage, the nice simple things, right? That's the American dream, right? So when you start to look at the American dream and you breaking it down as far as if you are the woman in the picture, if you are the man in the picture, what do you need to do in your life to project this American dream to the rest of the world? And Chris did it. He moved to another state. He got a nice house. He got a nice job. He made sure his wife had a car. He made sure they had Wi-Fi. He made sure they had everything. iPhones, iPads, flat screen TVs. Everything that they didn't actually need to project the American dream. He made sure they had it. He made sure they had it. And Shanann has that. That is her husband. She has a husband who provided the American dream. And he is becoming resentful for that because he did not feel a payback. He didn't get anything in return in his mind. Now, we have the art of retrospect. So we're able to look back onto his life and say, Chris, you did have a beautiful wife. You had 2 nice kids. Everything you provided for your family that you claim you didn't get nothing back for, you got it all back because you had it too. You had the American dream. You had it the best that it can possibly get. Why was that not good enough? That's how we look at it in retrospect. But as Chris going through this, he doesn't have retrospect. He's just going through the motions of what he's feeling and acting upon it. Nicole is the savior from all of that. For him, she is the savior. She's taking him away from all of those thoughts. So that's why it becomes easier and easier close to the date of the crime for him to convince himself, I'm going to get rid of these kids. I'm going to get rid of Shanann. Like, they got to go. That's what he's telling himself. They got to go. My life would be so much more better off if I didn't have a family. Nicole, on the meanwhile, is not thinking, Chris, you need to kill your family. In fact, she's not even thinking, Chris, you need to leave your family. She's only thinking, I need you to be as brainwashed as possible so I can manipulate you to the fullest effect so I can get my rocks off. She gets her rocks off from mind manipulating a older guy who's married, who's living the American dream, in which she's on the pursuit of trying to get to the American dream. She gets off on that. She's not intending on anyone to die behind this. She just wants to manipulate him. She needs him to be 100% brainwashed. So she's saying all these things without knowing that it's taking an effect in Chris's mind. So Chris is feeling appreciative. Now, it's a damn shame he wasn't appreciative towards his family, his kids, his American dream that he obtained. But you know what he became appreciative to? He became appreciative to Nicole Kessinger providing him a temporary out from the stress and depression that he's been living. In hindsight, Chris devised this plan to get rid of his family, to prove and to show thanks to Nicole. Nothing more, nothing less. This was an equivalent to Chris, like I said earlier, scratching off something off the to-do list. It's almost like he went to a shopping mall to buy the rarest, biggest diamond ring he can buy for Nicole. That's the thought he had behind. If I kill my family for you, for you, you will see how much I appreciate and care about you. I care about you that much. Not at all thinking about the ramifications that come behind committing a murder. This is why, to this very day, Chris Watts is able to tell people he still loves Shanann and his daughters, which is the biggest amount of bullshit ever. But that's why he can genuinely stand there and say it. He's convinced of it himself. We're not convinced of it. He's convinced of it. Because he didn't think he was committing the act of murder. He was just going to the furthest extremes to show Nicole, I really do care about you. And I really do want to be with you. This is how bad I want to be with you. Eventually, I am going to want to see my kids again. Eventually, I am going to want to know that I'm going to know that Shanann's feeling good. I'm going to want to know she's doing fine in life. She's probably moved on, got married, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. He will eventually want to know all of that. But at the moment when he was going through that, it was just all about, let me show you. Let me go through the extreme to show you. Now, keep in mind, people, this isn't too much out of the ordinary when it comes to Chris Watts. We actually kind of saw him do this already. And I talked about this earlier in this live show. Remember, when I told you guys that Chris thought that if he strived to be somebody, he'll become somebody, but he didn't. And that he thought about if he marry a hot girl and have children with her, that it'll work. It'll fulfill all of his needs. But it didn't. So when Shanann spoke of, I want this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that, he did or went to the extremes to provide that for her. Because as he's obtaining these things, this is his way of telling her thank you. This is his way of saying, thank you, hot girl, for marrying me, because that was something on my to-do list. Thank you, hot girl, for having a child by me. Okay, that was something on my to-do list. Oh, you having another child by me? Thank you for that. So let me do this for you. Let me make this drastic change for you. Every drastic change he made it as a thank you to her. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay? So it's not out the ordinary that he had this same thought process when it came to Nicole. But it's just the man that he was when he met Nicole was a much more darker, lost in the abyss type of a man. Now, if you guys have saw any videos on my channel, you will see the video where I spoke on how I almost fell in this same predicament, minus the children aspect of it. That thought never came to my mind. Never. But as far as the resentment build up and always wondering, like, why you get it like this and I don't. I did experience that to the point that when I had an affair, I was so driven over that person that even I was thinking, I need to get rid of my wife. Now, the mistress, she would tell me all the time, all the legal things you supposed to do, all the right things you supposed to do. She, of course, she wanted to be in a relationship with me, of course. But she was still a female. She was still a woman. And she didn't want none of the drama that comes behind a separation or changing of a spouse, however you want to word it. She didn't want all the drama dealing with that. So she was trying to tell me all the right ways to go about things to keep down drama. Now, as she told me these things, I always had a mental excuse for why I shouldn't follow her rule. So I will give you an example. Not saying this is exactly what happened, but this is an example of what I mean. If she were to tell me, I'm speaking on the mistress, you should go file for a divorce and file for joint custody of your children, right? Which is the obvious, legal, smart thing to do, right? I was so messed up in my mind at that time, thinking the wrong things, just like Chris. When she told me the smart legal thing to do, I opposed her and said, well, no, because then she'll be able to do this. She won't do that. She might get mad and try and do this. I came up with dumb excuses to not follow the smart advice that I was given. So it caused me to act on what I felt I was doing was right. I was not thinking at all about the consequences of killing someone. I was not thinking about that. When I was going, and this lasted for about 3 weeks to a month. This phase that I'm in, of plotting and trying to think of what I need to do. I did not think about consequences. I didn't think about, I'm going to have to go to trial. My family, her family going to be hurt behind this. I'm going to end up going to prison. I didn't think about none of that at all. In 3 weeks to a month, it's amazing how that thought process does not cross your mind at all for some reason. So I'm going on, I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out how can I do this. Now, keep in mind, as I'm plotting and I'm thinking about this, I'm going home and sleeping next to this person every night, every day. And I'm keeping up a persona. I'm keeping up a fake persona that I'm still normal, but on the inside, I'm not normal. So when she continues to do the things that very well pisses me off at that time, that made me want to remove her or whatever for a mistress, she's still doing those things because I'm not telling her, hey, I have a problem with what you're doing, to the point that I'm thinking about getting rid of you for someone else. I didn't have the balls to say that. So every day I'm sleeping next to her and I'm plotting, she's adding fuel to the fire without even knowing it. She's adding fuel to her own fire and she doesn't even know it. At that point, you do begin to have, and I don't know the proper word for this, so if someone in the live chat knows the proper word for this, let me know. But I know what it's called. It's called mind-body dualism. Mind-body dualism. Okay? I started experiencing that, which is what Chris started experiencing as well, towards the time getting close to the murders. And in this moment, and if you never went through this, you won't understand. But all I can do is just tell you what it feels like, right? What happens is you literally become two people. Your mind splits into two different realms. And it's not something that's temporary at the time. It's kind of a permanent thing while you're in that state of mind for however long you are. Because all the way down to you stopping at a traffic light, your mind, you ask yourself a question and you answer it back to back all day, every day. So when it comes to the act of, or the thought of trying to get rid of your wife for your mistress, you're constantly doing that all day. You're asking the question and you're answering the question. In hindsight, you're talking to yourself, you know. And what do people say about people who talk to themselves? What's the one word that no matter where you are in America, someone gonna call you this word if they see you talking to yourself? Crazy. Okay? Crazy. Mentally ill. Whatever you want to use, whatever term you want to use. You are doing that all day, but you're stuck on one subject, which is killing. That's it. Killing. How can you do it? How? What's the way to go about it? What's the plan? You know, how long you think it's going to take? How is it going to look? How are you going to carry it out? It's just a shame. You know, it's a shame that a human can slip into a depression, internal depression. This isn't the same as regular depression, you guys. Regular depression can be shown on the outside as well as you feel it on the inside. This type of depression is eternal depression, where you only feel it on the inside. On the outside, you can be normal as 1, 2, 3. You can be as normal as 1, 2, 3. Okay? On the outside. But on the inside, you are a mess. You are a mess. Guess what? Sad to say, but over, or at least half of the people in the world experience this on a daily basis. At least half the people in the world are experiencing internal depression every day. Every day. Every day. That is a mental illness. That is a sickness that cannot be cured by a doctor. That cannot be cured by a psychologist. And let me tell you the main reason why. Although different cases may be a little different, but let me tell you the main reason why this happens. Because the one thing that you know will make you feel better is the one thing that causes your depression. Let me say that again. The one thing that you know that'll make you feel better is also the one thing that causes your depression. It's a never-ending cycle. You can't shake it. You can't please it. You can't stop it. This is what drug addicts go through. This is what alcoholics go through. Alcohol makes them feel better. But that's the one thing that's fucking their life up. They can't, it's a double-edged sword. You can't live with it. You can't live without it. And for men around the world, that one thing, I'm sorry to say, ladies, that one thing is your wife. Your wife is that thing that causes you depression on the inside. But you can't not be with her. You can't not have it. You know, you can't go without it. And you just causing yourself more self-destruction on the inside. The one thing is the wife. A wife, Max. A wife. Women, if there's women listening to this right now, let me give you some game, okay? Fellas, if there is any guys in the live chat listening, don't get mad at me. Just try to, if you fit this category, just do better. Right? If you fit this category, just do better. If you don't fit the category, fine. All right? Okay, Max, you say, what about my friend who doesn't have a wife, or me who has depression and is a female? Well, your depression we'll talk. Hold that thought, Max. Hold that thought, okay? Hold that thought. We'll get to that in just a second, all right? Okay, so, sorry about that, y'all. So, a wife. And this is the thing that men feel. Men will go out and work every day, all day. We'll go and try to surprise you on your birthday. We'll try and do all the things we supposed to do. But behind your back, when we're amongst friends or just people who we can trust in, mainly guys, but if you don't got a lot of guy friends, that's when it's a little bit easier to pull a mistress in the picture, because she takes the place of a guy friend plus a significant other. She takes all of that into one. But you often will tell your friend, like, man, I love my wife, but sometimes I just want to choke her. Or I love my wife, but man, if I can figure out how to get away with murder. Or I love my wife, but man, if I didn't want to have to pay her all this child support or give her half of my money, I'll divorce her ass. I'll do this. I'll do that. It's always a but. We love our wives, but we love you, but it's always that. And on the inside, sometimes we just wish that our wives are just change and do what we want you to do. You got some out there who are very, some wives are out there, they don't cause any problems, okay? They don't cause any problem. If you're one of them or you know one of them, then I'm preaching to the choir. But that's not the case for everyone, you guys. Trust and believe this, okay? This is why men are killing their wives like it's nothing. This has been going on for the longest. It hasn't stopped. It will not stop. It will not stop. Because people don't have conversations like this. People, and I'm a victim of this too. If you and your wife or your husband have a heart-to-heart talk, even when you're having a heart-to-heart talk, you still have a tad bit of a filter attached to it, where you're getting the surface of what your problems are. You're getting that out, but the inner root of what your problem is, you can't get that out. You can't actually say it. So it just stays there, and it just harvests and manifests with even more evil thoughts or negative thoughts On top of whatever stresses you out about that person anyway. It just adds and feeds onto it. It grows and get bigger and bigger until you're so consumed in it that you feel like, this is the only way. This is the only way to deal with this certain situation. And a lot of times that solution is death. I'm sorry to say. It's death. And it feels justified. That's the scary part about it. It feels justified. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything wrong when you're thinking about doing it or planning on doing it. It doesn't feel like you're doing nothing wrong. It feels like you're doing what that person deserves for, that's how you feel. You feel like they asked for it. Like, you asked for this. You put yourself in this situation. You made me become this person. It's always that feeling. It's never a remorseful feeling of, oh man, this person can lose their life and never live again. That kind of stuff may hit afterwards, but more than likely it doesn't. Let me give you a hard truth about Chris, and most of you know this. But if you was listening from the beginning of this video, I started off this portion of the conversation by explaining to you guys that we're taking the devil's advocate approach. That's what I'm doing. Taking the devil's advocate approach. And also, there's a subculture of people on YouTube who actually think and are behind Chris Watts, who actually think he did the right thing, who actually think he didn't do nothing wrong. And although I don't agree with it, it is very interesting. It's very interesting to see how other humans can think like this. How they can really tell themselves that something so wrong is right. And I look into things like that, even though I don't agree with them, so I can make sure I can catch those things when it pertains to me. That's one thing that keeps me into true crime. I like to know what these killers think. I like to know why they did it, and I try to understand them. I don't just sit back and judge them and chastise them. I want to know why you felt that way, and I want to understand it. I want to understand it to the fullest. So when it starts, or if it starts happening to me, I can recognize that and I can stop doing whatever I'm about to do. That's why I do it. That's why I look into the opposite side of things. It's okay to play devil's advocate for understanding. You don't have to believe in that, but for understanding. And that's what this is. Just for the record, for people who may have joined in late, you'll have to play this from the beginning to really get the whole purpose. But it's sad. It's sad. You might be sleeping next to a Chris Watts right now. You might be sleeping next to a Jody Arias right now. It's sad. You'll never know. You'll never know unless you can come up with some type of machine that allows you to see thoughts like how an X-ray works. Which I doubt that'll happen. Right? But what you can do is become as informed as possible about other people and how other people think. So whenever you're confronted with a certain type of situation, you can always go into your memory bank and draw from experience, draw from what you learned, and try to figure out the best way to solve that situation. Because sometimes you only have seconds. Sometimes you only have seconds to realize this. Let me give you an example pertaining to Chris Watts. If only Chris Watts and if only him and Shanann had looked into Chris Coleman's case. You guys are familiar with Chris Coleman, the guy who killed his family, who used to work for Joyce Myers. Yeah. Happened in Colorado. Yeah. If only they would have looked into that case and just tried to, just figure out information about that. When Chris started going through his transgression, that would have instantly came to his head. He would have instantly thought about Chris Coleman. It would have came from his memory bank to help him figure out what he need to do in his situation. Not saying it would have changed anything, because who knows. But it's something more than what he had, which was nothing. So, let me jump into the live chat for a second, okay? So, Max loves the mother. I don't know if you're still listening, right? But you were saying, you was talking about you having depression and you being a female and things of that nature, right? So I would like to say this, right? Are you aware, or have you ever thought about like what the root of your depression comes from? That's my first question I'd like to ask. If you're in the live chat still, reply and let me know. Let me know. Do you know where the root of your depression comes from? And it's okay if you don't know, because a lot of people don't. Feels like a lot of people don't know. But guys, I'm telling you, man, sometimes you gotta do it. Sometimes you gotta put yourself in the mind of Christopher Watts and try to understand why he did what he did. You have to. You have to, because other than that, you're just gonna always be wondering. And it's like, for a lot of people, you almost got the puzzle put together completely, and it's just like a few pieces are missing. It's like, man, how can I find these missing pieces to complete this puzzle? And although this might not be the completed pieces, but trying to look at this from the opposing view is one of the very few options you got left at this point. Because you've gotten the prosecuting side of this to the full extent, because you're your own judge and jury in prosecution. You have one in real life that displayed justice. You got videotape footage. You got bloggers. You got people. You got people to argue the prosecuting side of this. But you don't have people, and you don't have a following behind the defensive part of it. So that piece is always going to be missing. It's always going to be missing. So sometimes you just got to, take that step to the left side and see, why did you do this? Like, let me try to understand how you brought yourself to do this. So now I can take what I have, all the pieces I got already, and I can really complete this puzzle to what the Watts family murder case is. Because if you look at it in hindsight, or open shut door type of way, you see exactly what the whole case is, right? It's almost just all in front of you. You see what happened. You saw what led up to Chris getting caught. You saw him getting caught. You saw him getting sentenced. You heard from him while he was in prison. So the whole storybook is complete and closed. But once again, you know, you got the missing pages and you're trying to find them. Like, where? How can I figure out what is it? What is it that I'm missing? And yeah, sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to do that. You're going to have a lot of people who's going to disagree with that statement, right? But it's proven. It's proven. And if you want to know how it's proven, tell me why Sherilyn Cato was able to plagiarize a complete book. Why? Because it was called Letters from Christopher. Everyone who hate Chris Watts wanted to hear what he said the most. Think about that. She knew what to title that book. Letters from Chris. Because that's what we want to hear. We want to hear what Chris got to say. We see everything else, and we can't hear the deceased side of the story, of course. So that's what we want to hear. We want to hear what Chris got to say. What did you say? What did you feel? I guarantee the most read part of that book is the chapter when she actually includes the letter from Chris explaining how he killed him, how he was thinking about killing him, and all of that. I bet that's the most read portion of that book. It's proven. It's proven. In order to complete the puzzle, you got to jump on the other side and try to understand it. You have to. You have to. And it might not complete the puzzle completely, but it gives you a lot more than what you had prior to doing it. It gives you a little bit more to work with. Just a little bit. You guys have been great. Thank you for listening to this live show. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for leaving the comments. I do understand completely that this was a bold approach to take towards the case, but in no way, form, or fashion was I trying to discredit or downplay the deceased at all. Just trying to step into the shoes of Mr. Watts so we can get a better understanding on why he did what he did. Hence the title, The Psychology of Chris Watts. Okay? Part 3. So, thank you, Connie. It's a sad case, and I will continue to cover this case the best way I can. I will need help from you guys. As far as the subscribers who want to talk more in depth about the Watts case. It will help me a lot if you can let me know what avenue you need me to go down for you, okay? And I will put my magic on it, okay? And I'll make it work. If there's people who just like true crime videos or stuff, period, like you saw in, you've been seeing different crime cases in a few of my videos. If you want videos like that featuring other crime cases and analyzing the criminal in that, let me know in the comment section. Even if it's a specific one that you want to see a video made about, leave it in the comment section. Let me know, and I'll work on that for you. I think there are a couple of more aspects as far as what I could touch upon pertaining to the Watts case. Thank you, Connie. Think about it. Yeah, think about it. Like, you got the aspect of the parents. You got the friends, what they think and what they feel about this and what they knew prior to this happening. You still got the Nicole Kessinger factor of it. You got a whole lot. you got the conspiracy theories. You got the conspiracy theory that all of this was made up. Pretty much not made up, but you got the conspiracy that all of this was planned, like, you know, someone made all this happen on purpose, and Chris isn't the one who actually did it. And oh Lord, you got stuff like that that's out there. I don't see how people can think like that, but it's out there. I don't know. You got a couple of more different ways you can go about this case, but it's definitely a strange one, and I've said it before. This case is the case of the decade. This murder has overshadowed every crime, every high-profile crime before this happened and after this happens for a little while to come. We know for sure from 2010 to 2020, this is the most high-profile case that has ever happened, which is strange because it's so open and shut. And it's strange. It's very, very strange that similar crimes have happened, and it's not the same as the Watts family murder for some reason. I mean, they made a movie off this, a documentary off this within a year. Within a year. This has been the most talked about thing throughout the internet, throughout true crime community. It's like books have been published back to back within a year. People from around the world in different countries are interested in this case way more than others that happen all the time, maybe in their own country. So I'm sure there's some type of reason for that, and we pretty much talked about it earlier. The American dream. Chris represents the American man. The American man. That's what his family represented, the American dream. Just look at that one photo, guys. Look at that photo of them in front of their house. If that's not a Google search photo of the American dream, all they were missing was an American flag hanging off the post, the shutter post or something like that. That's all they was missing. The American flag. That's an American dream photo. And to believe that someone messed up the American dream? What? How dare you? It's like, how dare you? Like, how is that possible? How can you obtain the American dream and throw it away on purpose? Not even by mistake. You did it on purpose. And you put yourself behind prison. Hell on earth for the rest of your life. Like, that is so baffling. You just gotta dig deeper for answers. Gotta dig deep. You gotta open your mind up to avenues that you never wanted to before, never planned on doing before. You gotta do that. Gotta look deep into this. The devil's advocate. That is all for me. I've talked you guys' ears off for 74 minutes. Alright? And I appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to catch the next live show. Be sure to check out the next video when it get uploaded. Stay tuned. There's more to come. I hope everyone has a nice day. Peace.